Hey guys, we're doing another deep dive video today, and I'm doing a different theme. This is a theme of men's fragrances under $100. So fragrance prices have been going up, and I used to buy a lot of very well-known designer fragrances once they, were launched and they've been around for a while. They'd end up at the discounters. You can find a lot of those men's designer fragrances for around $60 to $70, somewhere around there. Now I noticed that a lot of designer fragrances, for example, Dior, they were all over $100. So there's no discounts on them. Fahrenheit, Eau Sauvage, Sauvage, and those kind of things. But there's a good collection of men's designer fragrances and men's non-designer fragrances. And I've got classics here and modern fragrances that I think are definitely worth to check out if you're in the market for new fragrances. And even though we've got some of the more popular fragrances that are closer to the $100 mark, we've got a lot of fragrances here that are around $50, $40, and less expensive. So we've got a great collection of around 55 fragrances today. I don't have the final count, but it's somewhere around there. And this is another deep dive video, and it's men's designer or men's fragrances on the budget side or under $100. If you found something new recently, let me know. Something that's budget that you found that you really enjoyed that I should get my nose on. Definitely let me know, add a comment below. And as you're watching this video, let me know if any of these fragrances that I talk about today that you haven't discovered, if they sound great to you and if you're going to check them out. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, I should also say, I did the research just before I shot the video and I got prices online. So the prices that I'm going to quote you today are fairly recent, and also the fragrances we're selling. Sometimes, although I should take that back, there's two fragrances here that I had to include that I've spoken about on the channel before, and they were selling at budget prices, and they're currently out of stock, and I'll let you know what those are when I get to them. It was just two, but I can't guarantee that these fragrances will not run out and things like that, or the prices won't go up. So always double check. But as of the shooting of this video, these were the current prices, and these were all available. Just the two that I'm going to mention when I get to them were not selling, but I've discussed quite a bit on the channel. And they're really, really great budget fragrances. But sadly, I think I've discussed them too much and they've run out of stock. But once they come back in stock, definitely you should check them out if you haven't checked them out yet. So we're going to get started with in alphabetical order. This is from the house of AJMAL. This is a fragrance called Vision. You guys familiar with this one? It's a bit dusty here. So I wanted to feature a fragrance from the house of Paul Smith, the Eau de Toilette, the original green fragrance. That is a fragrance I recommended quite a bit on the channel. It was a budget fragrance you can find for around $20, $25, $30. It's kind of on its way out, sadly, and I don't know if Paul Smith is making new versions of that. It was a great fragrance that I wore first in 2000 or 2001, created by Nathalie Lorson. It was ozonic. So since that's been gone, I recommend Vision for somewhat similar idea. This is currently selling for $17 for 100 ml. And it's a great, freshy, ozonic, violet leaf forward fragrance that totally reminds me of Paul Smith, the green bottle Eau de Toilette fragrance that I remember wearing. It does have a very green, powdery, ozonic, watery experience. And the idea of fresh mowed or cut grass comes to mind. There's aromatics here, there's spices. But what I like about it is the freshness, the ozonic touches, which is, if you don't know what ozonic means, there's some videos on the channel. It's watery, but it's crisp. It's slightly fruity vegetal because the violet leaves provides that. And here we've got a really great fresh experience with that. And for $17, I think it's more of a, summery fragrance, but it's also like an all day, everyday kind of a fragrance. It could be a great signature fragrance, and it won't break the bank. So definitely worth discovering if you haven't yet. This is Vision from the house of AJMAL. They do have some great cheapies, but also there's some disappointing cheapies out there. But I really enjoy that one for $17. There's another fragrance that I had recommended on channel. It's kind of gone. Verde. AJMAL Verde, which reminded me of Tom Ford's discontinued Noir Anthracite. I really loved it, and I recommended that quite a bit on the channel, and the discounters ran out, and now I haven't seen it come back. So that's the first fragrance I'm talking about. Also, I should mention, this is a strictly men's fragrance list. I was originally going to do a men's, unisex, and women's list, but I decided to keep it around 50, 55 men's discounted fragrances. I should do a version of this video that's going to feature unisex and feminine or female women's fragrances. Let's move on to AZZARO. This is Cologne Intense, currently selling for 100 ml $32. This is also not smelling like the original AZZARO Pour Homme. This is AZZARO Pour Homme Cologne Intense. For some reason, I didn't write down Pour Homme on there. I have a list of the fragrances and the prices. But as I said, this is 100 ml $32. I think it's a really great freshie, kind of citrusy and aromatic. Nothing like the original AZZARO Pour Homme. This is like such a distant relative. It's a flanker of the original, but nothing like the original. The original Pour Homme is a great fougere. This might have these kind of fougere-like vibes. I also think this is created by Contambiche. Am I remembering correctly? I think he did do this one, but it might come off a bit generic. It's simplistic, and I think it's an everyday freshie, signature scent, office friendly and things like that. It's clean, it's crisp, it's citrusy, it's kind of a woody, grassy, and just a pleasant fragrance. If you're buying this thinking it's going to smell like an offspring of AZZARO's Pour Homme, no, it's completely different. But as a fragrance on its own, a standalone fragrance, it smells pleasant, and I think it's a great everyday kind of wear. So that is AZZARO Pour Homme Cologne Intense. Next, we've got a fragrance from the house of BARBOUR. This is for him. I guess it's BARBOUR Origins for him. Eau de Parfum, 100 ml, $76. I'm featuring this one here today. It reminds me of autumn. It's a woody, spicy fragrance and has these kind of autumn-like, vibes. And I think since we are in autumn, I think this will be perfect for that kind of a wear. If you're looking for a new autumn fragrance, this might be something to check out. If you don't know the House of BARBOUR, they make some great clothing items. They're a bit on the rugged side, but also on the luxury side. And some of their coats have this kind of a detailing inside the inside part of the coats. So anyway, just kind of giving you an idea of the designer if you don't know it. But for me, it's a kind of a warm, spicy, slightly creamy, woody experience, and kind of a great fragrance that reminds you of the smell of autumn, because there's these warm spices. I feel like there's nutmeg here. There might be some cedar, but also perhaps there's some sandalwood. And then, there's some light aromatics and other spices that come in, but there's definitely kind of a warm, cozy kind of a vibe here, because I'm getting that kind of, creamy, smooth kind of an effect with the woods in here. So that is BARBOUR Origins for him. The problem is the name is just a bit weird. It says for him here, but I looked it up. It says Origins for him. So either way, check that out if you don't know it. Let me know if you know the brand itself. Let me know if you know the fragrance. But one of my all-time favorite cheapies from a designer house, this is Bentley for Men Intense. I have recommended this so much. It's also available for around $30 for 100 ml. And if you like budget fragrances, this smells so expensive for a budget fragrance. Definitely one of the best budget fragrances out there. I just need to get a new bottle. As you can see, it's gone down. And one year when I was traveling in Europe, this was probably like 8 years ago, I was actually in Spain and in Portugal. This was like winter, so December and January. I took a bottle that was quite low with me, and I finished it. Wore the heck out of that fragrance. Really love the dry down on this. I love everything about it. It starts out amazing and it finishes amazing, and it's super sexy. I consider it super, super sexy. It's boozy, it's spicy, it's warm and ambery. There's some aromatic notes that come in, spicy notes that come in. and even like smoky notes that come in. Great creation by Nathalie Lorson. So she does some great work, honestly. There's some generic work out there as well, but I assume that's directed by the designers and the conglomerates that, you know, she's doing fragrances for. But as far as a designer fragrance here, this is definitely one of the best in her catalog of fragrances. Really super awesome smell. It has niche vibes. It reminds me a little bit of Luban's Idole fragrance, but that's hard to get a bit. They're not high, like they're not really distributed very heavily or widely, I should say. But here it smells super, super awesome. I believe there's also a bit of leather here. Amazing. One of the best cheapies out there ever. If you haven't tried it, please do. And somebody recently asked, whatever happened to Bentley for Men? So I actually never got to sample Bentley for Men. I went straight to Bentley for Men Intense. This was like 10 years ago. I think this was at its height. I got a bottle and fell in love with it. But also because Luban's Idole was also popular maybe around 12 years ago. So it was also not easy to find. And so that was as an alternative to that fragrance, and it does not disappoint. So I think somebody said, why would you not talk about the original? But I'm letting you guys know now, I've never sampled it. I've never seen it out there on the market. I've blind bought this myself, never having smelled it. And it's been one of my all-time favorites. Should I blind buy the original? I mean, I guess I could. But for me, it's all about the Intense. This is the best, Bentley fragrance for me. And also one of the best cheapies out there of all time. So, so good. Such an amazing scent. But let's move on to BOUCHERON. This is a more classic fragrance. This is JAIPUR Homme EDP. I should mention that to you guys also. I forgot to mention at the beginning. So I've featured one fragrance from one brand. I could totally feature a ton of Bentley fragrances. Then this video would be so long. It would be like 300 fragrances in the video. And so I'm limiting my deep dive videos to just under 100 fragrances. So the chapters work. But in this case, it turned out to be about 55 fragrances. I could do a more longer form video like this, but I could do it with additional fragrances. But today, I've got one fragrance from one house. So you've already seen a Bentley fragrance. You're not going to see any more. You've seen an AZZARO, BARBOUR, AJMAL. Now we're on BOUCHERON. BOUCHERON's JAIPUR Homme in the Eau de Parfum concentration is so, so good, guys. If you don't know it, please check it out. Sure, it might be a bit old school. It came out around the time of when Jean-Paul Gaultier Le Male came out. It's that warm, spicy, kind of aromatic, fougere-like smell. It's got a lot of cinnamon here, so it's got that kind of really like intense, warm spiciness. I feel like also the aromatics are not as strong as something like Le Male from Jean-Paul Gaultier, but there are some here. This is just an ambery experience, very warm, spicy, and definitely has the, old school vibe. But I absolutely love it. It smells fantastic, created by Annick Menardo, who is still creating fragrances. I believe she used to work for Firmenich, I think, but now she's with Symrise. And she's worked a lot with Suzy Lehele, and they've created the Bentley for Men, I'm sorry, not Bentley, what am I saying? Hugo Boss bottled fragrances. And we'll get to one of those here in a bit. But she did an amazing job. She launched several fragrances. She did this, she did the Boss bottle, the original. She also had the Bulgari Black, which was an amazing, amazing fragrance. But this is definitely still on the market and smells great. And if you like a little bit of an old school vibe, but with a lot of warm, spicy touches, ambery touches, vanillic touches, definitely check this one out. Check that out and also see if you can connect it to a little bit of the original Hugo Boss bottled. Because the original Hugo Boss bottled and that came out around the same time in the late 90s. And Boss bottled the OG in Eau de Toilette is also warm, spicy. And I believe it features cinnamon and vanilla among woods and also apples. So That's what the difference is here. It's a bit fresher with the Boss bottled. And this Boucheron Jaipur pour homme or homme is a lot more warm and also a lot more ambery and things like that. So a really awesome scent. I absolutely love that one. And I didn't tell you the price on that. It says 100 ml, $37. So totally worth it. Especially if you like your fragrances to be a bit old school, then definitely check that one out. Boucheron doesn't make a lot of fragrances much anymore. I have a few here, which recently I spoke about here in a Tonka fragrances video. This is Fève Tonka de Canaima. I think that's how you say it. But this collection is also kind of underrated. But Boucheron is a jewelry house, and I think their fragrances are not like very widely distributed. But back in the 90s, obviously, they were a lot more around. So let's move on to the house of Brioni. This is Eau de Parfum Intense. 100 ml, $66 currently at the discounters. And I have all the fragrances tagged within the video. So it's a YouTube tagging system. So if you're watching the video, you should have the product come up if you're in the market for any of these fragrances. If anything is not available on YouTube, I try to put the link to the product in the info box, but most of the products should be tagged within the video. And again, if you are in the market, you can just see the product come up and you can pick it up there. So 100 ml, $66. This is the Eau de Parfum Intense, and this series of fragrances launched with the Eau de Parfum, which is more of a violet ozonic fragrance. I spoke about ozonic fragrances already with the AJMAL. This removes the violet leaves and adds a green apple, a crisp, juicy green apple. So, did I spray this on already? I'm smelling the apples already. I'm also smelling saffron, because there's a bit of a saffron touch in here. Not too much, which is providing the spice and the leathery touches. And of course, I'm getting the oud, but it's an easy-to-wear oud. It's a westernized oud. So in the end, it's kind of fun and playful with the green apples, but also a bit, serious and a more, mature and masculine with the oudy touches and the saffron and things like that. I love this fragrance. It's my favorite in the series, but I highly recommend the whole entire series. You can get every one of the fragrances except for the new leather one for under $100. In fact, the leather one could probably be on the market now already for $100. But this is definitely my favorite. I like its intensity, its potency, its juiciness, its leathery touches, its spicy touches, and then, of course, woody touches as well. Let me know if you're a fan. I love that fragrance. Definitely a great fragrance you can get for under $100. And if you're in the market for 5 fragrances, you might end up paying around $300 for 5 fragrances, when Chanel, Bleu de Chanel, L'Exclusive is now around $300 for 1 fragrance. So yeah, Chanel didn't make the list. Dior didn't make the list. Some other designer brands, Jean-Paul Gaultier didn't make the list, although there might have been something, but like Le Mail series, the Elixir is not here. So there's some designers that didn't make this list because they were just too expensive. They were over $100. But I made sure I have fragrances on here that are definitely quality and under $100 if you're on the market. So this could be also a video you tune into for, shopping for fragrances. If you're a woman, you're watching this and you have some sons or a husband and you don't want to spend a lot of money, this will be a great reference video. And again, just keep in mind, I did the video and I researched the prices, but things changed, products went out of stock, and of course prices go up. So next, moving on to the House of Bulgari. This is Bulgari Man Rain Essence. I like this one because it's got that watery effect. I like fragrances that give me this watery rain effect. There used to be, or maybe it's still selling, the fragrance Rain from Commodity. So when you're wearing it, you get the smell of the rain. Well, the effect of the rain, the wetness, also a light, smell as well. Here, I feel like there's aromatic minty touches here. There's an ice cold quality about it. Of course, when it's raining, it's cold outside and things like that. and you really get to experience it. It's very fresh, it's very crisp, it's spicy, but not in a harsh way. It's definitely not the BOUCHERON JAIPUR, which is, you know, inspired by India and the spices there. This is more cold, it's icy, it's wet, it's drippy, and it's fresh, clean, very, very clean, and a bit musky as well. So you've got all these qualities here with the BVLGARI. Where is it? BVLGARI Man Rain Essence. So the price on this one, I found a tester for $74, 100 ml. And if you don't buy the tester, you buy the original, you're probably going to pay about like $10 to $15 more. But a tester should be fine because this doesn't have a cap. Sometimes if you're buying testers, they don't send you the cap, which annoys the hell out of me. But the fact that this doesn't really have a cap and you can't really remove this, you're going to get this. You're just not going to get a box. If you get a box, it might be a white box, so which is fine. I buy testers all the time. I have no problem with buying testers. And again, you're going to save about $10 to $15 more and you pay less for a fragrance. And if you bought the full presentation with the box, it'll be, you know, more expensive. But definitely something you should check out if you like watery, rainy fragrances with kind of like a minty aromatic freshness, spiciness against the wet, cool kind of effect that's happening in there. So next we're going to the house of Burberry Touch for Men, 100 ml, $35. This is also an ozonic fragrance. For some reason, I've got ozonic fragrances here. I don't know if that was intentional. It was not. But I wanted to feature this because it's a fragrance that I enjoy. And I enjoy ozonic fragrances. I like their fresh crispness. And usually ozonic fragrances are created with violet leaves. And, well, that's the effect it gives, the violet leaves. Not the flowers, but the leaves. And you can smell the actual flowers a little bit, but it has more of a green effect happening. But this is quite crisp and fresh, a bit fruity and vegetal, but definitely has that watery kind of. I usually always say, slice the cucumber, you know, look through that and look at the inside of a cucumber. That kind of jelly, kind of a watery effect is what you get with the violet leaves that are in here. And sometimes they use cucumbers for the ozonic effect as well. And so here it's quite fresh. It's a bit cold. It's crisp. It's watery. It's a bit fruity because you get that a little bit. And also a bit vegetal and powdery. That's another thing that violet leaves does. It does, give it a bit of a powdery effect. If you're familiar with Fahrenheit, it's violet leaves. If you're familiar with Jeffrey Bean Gray Flannel, it's violet leaves. Those are a bit more old school. I mentioned the Paul Smith already, the AJMAL violet leaves. So yeah, you've got quite a bit of that note in men's fragrances. But the Burberry Touch is great. It's also very inexpensive. 100 ml for around $35 is a no-brainer for that one. Next, we're going to the house of Carolina Herrera. And it's a brand I don't speak too much about. But recently I did a haul video and I bought this. It's a fragrance I've always wanted to have after a long time. And I like it. It's a fresh fragrance once again. It's also probably about 20 years old, if not more. But it's kind of aromatic. It's spicy. It's a bit green. It's very fresh. Maybe there might be some light floral notes thrown in there. But it's easy to wear. It's a bit grassy, like the green grass, because it's got the green notes. But it's super, super fresh and got a kind of a invigorating quality about it. But there's definitely herbs and aromatics in here and all these kind of notes. And gives you a little bit of that kind of grassiness, like fresh mowed lawn kind of green grassiness. But I haven't noticed muskiness. I'm kind of getting some muskiness from this as well, which is kind of sexy, but in a more clean way, not an animalic musky way. But let me know what your thoughts are on 212 for men or men. If you've worn that or not. The first time I wore a Carolina Herrera fragrance was in the early 90s, like 1993. I believe it was the very first Carolina Herrera for Men fragrance. I love that fragrance. And around that time, I was wearing also Paco Rabanne XS, the very first one. And both fragrances kind of reminded me of one another, which is weird because I guess I like that kind of a DNA, and I was wearing those. But 212 came out in the latter part of the 90s, I believe. So this is definitely 25 years old. Can't believe how old it is. I could be wrong, though. Maybe it's like 2000 or 2001, but I can't keep all the dates in my mind. But next, we're going to the House of Caron. This is Un Mémoire Comme Je Suis, 125 ml for $63. And that's another thing to look at. You're getting more juice here. It's a 100 ml bottle. It's a 125 ml bottle. It's also $63 for 125 ml, not $73 for the Carolina Herrera, which is 100 ml. So per mil price for this is going to be much less than the Carolina Herrera or some of the other fragrances. And I kind of like that. If you like vetiver, this is a vetiver fragrance and with a slight, nutty gourmand effect. But I wouldn't say this is a gourmand fragrance. The hazelnuts that are in here provides that kind of slight nutty gourmand effect against the kind of earthy, woody grassiness of the vetiver in here. So it's mostly very woody, very earthy. And you've got spices in here as well. You've got probably some very light citruses, but to me, it's smelling super sexy today. And I like the way this smells. I really loved it when I first got it. I got bored of it after a while. So it's been a while since I put my nose on it. I'm really loving the way it smells. So I think it's a great fragrance from the House of Caron. Caron is a long-standing house. It's been around for a long time. I really love their Tabac Exquis from the house. It's part of their luxury collection. Super sexy, really awesome tobacco fragrance with chocolate and cacao. Kind of like a similar idea to tobacco honey from Guerlain or tobacco vanille from Tom Ford, but this time with chocolate. Super, super delicious. But this is also smelling really, really great. Really awesome. It's super, super sexy, and I like that about it. Anyway, what do you guys think of this? It's Un Mémoire Comme Je Suis from the House of Caron. This launched around 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. And I ordered my bottle from France and it came. I got some extra goodies with it. And it was definitely something to check out. But next, going to the House of Cartier, it's Declaration in the Eau de Toilette concentration, $74 for a 100 ml. Parfum was over $100. The Eau de Parfum, which I don't even own yet, was also over $100. But this is the OG, launched in the late 90s, created by Jean-Claude Elena. And his signature is definitely here. I mean, you can really smell his signature here and move to Hermes, because this smells a bit like Cologne or Bigarade Concentré from Frederic Malle, and some of the Hermes, Terre de Hermes flankers, and so on. But to me, it's super spicy. It does have a slight bit of cumin caraway effect. So it's got cardamom, there's woods in here, there's spices, it's, some light aromatics. But a sexy, very, masculine leaning fragrance for a man to wear, It's a nice fusion of these spices and woods together. It's a great DNA. And, I would have much preferred to put the Parfum in the video, in this list, because I prefer, the stronger concentrated fragrances. But maybe some of you don't like such strong fragrances, so you can go with that. That's coming around to 30 years. That's how long that fragrance has been around. But still smells great today. It doesn't smell dated to me. The DNA exists in other fragrances. In fact, recently, the House of Maison Margiela launched that orange fragrance. That kind of has that similar DNA as well. Anyway, That is Cartier Declaration in Eau de Toilette, created by Jean-Claude Elena, $74 for 100 ml. Next, we've got an extreme cheapie, and also a classic. And I don't remember the date this came out, and I also featured it in a haul video recently. This is Musk for Men from Coty. I just remembered I had this, and I pulled it out. And this probably came out in the 70s because it totally has a 70s look. Maybe the late 70s, early 80s. And that's also a very simplistic musk fragrance. Although, you know, it's gotten butchered. It's not having its intensity. It's also a cologne concentration, as you can see right here. I think you can see the word cologne. But in the end, it's musky. It's kind of warm and ambery, but also behind it there is a slight soapiness in there. Like it's almost like a fusion of something that's made to smell like, you know, authentic deer musk, and also something in the combination of a clean like white musk. But I like it. It's light. It does the kind of musky job it's supposed to do. But also it's not super potent and a bit close and personal. But what I like about it is it does have some strength, especially if your body temp is warmer, it starts projecting. But I wouldn't say this is like super intensely projecting fragrance, but I like it. It smells great, and it's just a perfect type of musk fragrance to wear to, you know, wear something light, but smell sexy also. And somebody recently asked, how do you know if a fragrance is sexy? So if you guys don't know, if you don't know, I can't tell you what fragrances are sexy. I consider certain fragrances sexy, but your nose has to tell you what fragrances are sexy. So I don't know. It's kind of like if you find a woman, the way she looks sexy, it's the same thing. You're not going to say every single woman out there is sexy. One of them will be probably. And it's kind of the same thing with fragrances. You're going to smell it. You're going to say, oh, it's good, not sexy. And you're going to say, oh, that smells super sexy. It's kind of the same thing. So next we're going to the house of Davidoff. This is Adventure. This was also recently featured in a haul video, a cheapie haul video I did, or maybe it was a regular haul video. And I really fell in love with the way this smells. It was a blind buy. It's also really inexpensive. It's 100 ml for $22. What I like about it, it's almost like a warm and fresh hug. There's something super cozy about it, but there's a lot of freshness. There's a lot of like herbs and aromat. Not a lot, but I'm picking up those kind of like herbal aromatics within the freshness. But under it, there's a light ambery woody glow as well that has this kind of creaminess. It's almost like hugging you, because when I smell it, when I put my nose on it, to it, it's super cozy. Like you kind of almost like relax when you smell it. It's got a soft touch about it, like, you know, when you're touching something like pillow or something smooth, you do get that kind of an experience with the way the fragrance smells. I like it. I don't think it's the longest lasting fragrance. It's also probably something you should carry around with you because it's so super cheap. It's 100 ml, $22. So if you buy one, maybe buy two, carry one with you, keep one at the office, maybe leave one in the car, although hot cars get hot, maybe in your gym bag or something. It's that kind of a fragrance. It's super inexpensive, but also super nice smelling. So that's Adventure, although that should take that back, not take back what I said about the fragrance. What I should say is I'm not sure the name sounds appropriate because to me, it doesn't smell like Adventure. It smells more like a cozy fragrance, you know? So maybe it should have been called Relaxed rather than Adventure. What do you guys think? But it smells great though. Really, really love it. So that is Davidoff Adventure. Next one is Dunhill. Dunhill Indian Sandalwood. Let's see, the name is right up here. So recently Dunhill got dropped by Interparfums. It's a distributor who distributes Van Cleef and Arpels is one of the brands. They also have Moncler. They just opened up their own brand. They launched a brand, like a niche house called Solferino. And I actually just visited their store in Paris. And I liked a few fragrances that I smelled from the brand. So Interparfums also, you know, just launched a brand, as I said. But they distribute quite a bit of brands. But they dumped Dunhill, so I don't know why they dumped the brand, but maybe it's not doing well. But I remember Dunhill Icon was quite popular for a while, and then there was Century also that launched that I liked, and then this collection that also I think was great. And the Indian Sandalwood I think is my favorite of the collection. This is one of the coziest sandalwood fragrances. It's super awesome. I really, really love it. In fact, I might have to buy a bottle of this as a backup because I don't know who's going to pick up the brand. If they are going to pick up the brand, they'll probably go to a very small distribution service or something. But that is such a great sandalwood. One of the best sandalwood fragrances if you like it on the inexpensive side. According to my research, 100 ml is $67. And of course, what's going to happen is if the fragrance itself is discontinued, once they run out of stock, it's not going to be available anymore, or you're going to probably find it for more expensive. But what I like about this sandalwood fragrance, it does remind me of other sandalwood fragrances. It's got that creamy effect, super milky, creamy. And I find these kind of fragrances to be super cozy, like enveloping, like it's almost like it, you know, surrounds you and, you know, like a cocooning way. And so it kind of subconsciously creates this cozy, you know, relaxed vibe about it when you're wearing it. So that's what I like about it. It's super, super cozy. And a lot of sandalwood fragrances, the kind of sandalwood I like, not the Santal 33 variety, which kind of gets crunchy, and a lot of people say pickle juice, which I can see why they're saying that. Here, it's more milky and also woody. It's a smooth, creamy, milky fragrance, but super awesome. And again, as I said, I don't know what's going to happen with Dunhill, but as I said, Interparfums dumped the brand. So most likely it's not doing well, and or some of the fragrances are discontinued. If you guys have any info on Coty and Interparfums, let me know what's going on. Again, I don't really know if they're looking for another distributor. What happens is if a brand gets dumped or moves on from a distributor, they sign a deal with another distributor or another company, and basically the company goes through the catalog and decides to cut some fragrances, because that happens quite a bit in the fragrance industry. It's happened all over the place. Like Prada was part of Puig, Valentino as well, and then I think, from what I heard, I guess Puig dropped them. I don't know the details, but so they've gone to L'Oreal. And also Mugler and AZZARO were part of Clarins Group. They went to L'Oreal. So I think Clarins sold off the brands and things like that. Let's move on to next Estee Lauder. It's Pleasures for Men. This is 100 ml, $29. This also is about just under 30 years old, but I quite like this one. I like the way it smells. There is a green, it's supposed to be nectarines. You can smell the nectarines, but it's almost like there's a slight greenness with the skin of the nectarines. But it's super, it's for sure fruity, but a little bit tart and not so ripened fruity, and also kind of green like the skin of the nectarine. You're not getting the fuzziness from a peach. It's definitely nectarines here, and not the experience of the fuzziness of the peach skin. But there's aromatics here. There's also a bit of a watery effect here, but it's super fresh. There's woods, and I like the way it smells. It doesn't smell tired, although it does smell a bit weaker. But I think if you like slightly old school smelling, I think it's still, I don't know, I think it's still pretty modern for something that came out 30 years ago, but behind it all, there is an old school DNA. So I wouldn't say this is 100% modern, if that makes sense. It does have an old school vibe, but I think the fact that it has the fruits or the fruitiness in here gives it the modern edge. Let me know if you're a fan of Estee Lauder's Pleasures for Men. I love that bottle. It's a very iconic bottle, and the cap too. So next we go into the house of Ferragamo. It's bright leather, 100 ml for $51. This is also, I believe, ozonic with a leather note or something ozonic experience, because it's a type of leather that's easy to wear. And I'm getting the violet leaves ozonic touches. I didn't even put it to my nose, so I remembered correctly here. It smells like violet leaves. I can smell the violet leaves 100% here in AJMAL's Vision. Is that what it was called? Yes. And I think a little bit of Burberry Touch. And definitely here with the Ferragamo Bright Leather. 100 ml, $51, as I said. So I think the leather in here is more like a smooth suede leather. And with that freshness of the ozonic touches in here is quite fresh. That always provides a freshness, but also powdery, definitely. But there's green touches against the leather. I actually really like this one for a designer fragrance. It's almost like it's got two sides, a more deeper side and also a fresh, more easygoing side, kind of serious and easygoing kind of. So I've recommended this one quite a bit because I like it. I think it's my favorite from the collection, although I haven't sampled every single one of those fragrances, but I certainly do like Bright Leather from Ferragamo. Let me know if you like that one. It's 100 ml for $51, as I said. Next, we've got an old school fragrance that I recently rediscovered. I absolutely love it. $14 for 100 ml. Super cheap, super inexpensive. And to me, it still smells great today. This is Red from Giorgio Beverly Hills. I wore this in the early 90s. And when I picked this up about a year ago, I couldn't believe that it still smells great today. It totally takes me back to when I first was wearing this in the early 90s. It was just at the time of, the 80s wrapped up. It's the 90s. My family was in the Bay Area for a long time. And then we moved to the Central Valley. And so I remember I was wearing this. I was wearing Coty Aspen, Sirius by Givenchy in that beautiful Art Deco bottle. And I believe later Versace's Versus came. And so I was wearing those kind of fragrances. And, oh man, this fragrance is just total scent memories with this one. At a time when, I had just graduated high school and this fragrance had come out. I can't believe how good it smells. I know it smells weaker, lighter, but man, it totally reminds me of the fragrance I remember wearing when I was like in my late teens, early 20s. It's spicy. It's a fougere-like vibe. But also under there's some warmth. So it's almost like an ambery warmth under there. The red idea comes to mind because there's a red kind of a smell, like it's warm and spicy. So deep kind of oranges and reds. So good. So good. Let me know if you're a fan of this. Again, great price. It's a 100 ml for $14. Love that fragrance. Only thing, somebody had asked me which version do I have, and I don't remember. So I didn't know that different distributors released this or are releasing this fragrance, and I can't guarantee that. And I don't know if this is true, but I can't guarantee that one distributor's version of that reformulation is going to be the same as the others. I don't know. I don't know how this works, but that's what I was asked, and I couldn't really guarantee that I knew. But I believe they were asking if the one I had was produced in Spain. Does that make sense, guys? I don't know. I can't read that very well. But anyway, that's for research later. But let's move on to the House of Givenchy. This is probably one of the most expensive fragrances on the list, but still under $100. This is Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privé. Yeah, I've had problems with the performance of this, but I've also noticed that this is my bottle from when I first bought it. The performance has gotten better, but still, I wouldn't think it's the most intense and longest lasting fragrance. But it smells super awesome. It's slightly boozy, a bit gourmand, lots of iris oris, maybe reminiscent of something like Dior Homme Intense, but in a different way. But this is so good. It smells amazing. I really love it. And I love iris. Iris is one of my favorite notes. And the older I get, the more I love iris. Has that happened to you guys? Because at one time, early on, I just didn't care for iris. In fact, I hated powdery fragrances. But the older I get, the more I love iris. Iris is so amazing. Especially if you add a little warmth to it, a little sweetness to it. Oh man, I mean, this stuff smells so good. I could just smell it. Really, like, there's that sweet warmth there, but it's like almost like there's enough sweetness to kind of kill the iris's vegetal qualities, but it's almost still there. But I'm also getting something chestnutty in here, something slightly nutty, but more like a sweet kind of a nutty experience, but super powdery. Really, really great smelling fragrance from the House of Givenchy. Definitely their best flanker. I just wish it lasted a bit longer. Anyway, so that is 100 ml for $91. I know it's quite pricey, but still, it's under $100. Then we're going to the House of Gucci. It's Guilty Absolute, 90 ml, $72 for a tester. So I know this is a polarizing fragrance. Definitely no. It's kind of old school. Launched in January of 2017, and I was waiting and anticipating for the launch of this, and I actually had to go to the Gucci store when they had just put it out and buy it from there because Macy's hadn't gotten it yet. And I was like, I can't believe they launched this. This is so different than what the brands are releasing these days. It's dark, it's leathery, it's spicy, it's woody, and animalic at the same time. It's created by Alberto Morillas, who did a lot of the fragrances in this collection. And this stuff is amazing. I love it. Really love it. I think it reminds me of some old school fragrances, but in a modern way. Like, it's a leather, and Kouros is a leather. So I feel like the leather in here might kind of be similar to the leather in Kouros, but Kouros obviously smells different. It's so old school and even more animalic and musky. This to me is just leathery in a slightly animalic way. But there's enough, I think there's cypress here, there's a lot of vetiver, there's patchouli. Just a very butch fragrance, I think. And I absolutely love it. Really, really love it. It's my favorite flanker. Well, the elixir is pretty good as well. But to me, it was such a breath of fresh air when this came out because I was not a fan of the Guilty series for men. I hate the original. In fact, some of the flankers that came after this kind of remind me of the original DNA, and I couldn't stand it. But this stuff, like I said, it was a breath of fresh air. Really awesome smell. Something that brands hadn't done. It was a very daring thing to do. And I credit them to do something like this. I guess the creative director who was with Gucci before was, taking some risks with some of the fragrances. And I think he worked on this fragrance with Alberto Morillas. And, they launched something great. This, and then also the cologne that was in this series were really, really great. The cologne got axed so fast, but thankfully this is still selling. I don't know how long. Plus the bottle is super gorgeous. It reminds me of a whiskey bottle, like a mini, like, personal whiskey bottle. What do you guys think? Let me know if you're a fan of this, but do you consider the Elixir better than that? Do add a comment below. So I'm done with the first page. We've got 2 3/4 pages of items. Next, we've got some expensive fragrances, but I have a balance with, enough cheaper fragrances. But like I said, prices are going up so much in fragrances that discounted prices are also going up because their suggested retail prices of the fragrances are so high. So it's tougher to find, designer fragrances that are like super popular that are under $100. This is kind of an old school fragrance. The Parfum edition of this that came out last year, it's not easy to find at the discounters. When you find them, it's going to be probably around $130. But this is the Eau de Parfum that came out in the early 2000s. This is Habit Rouge and Eau de Parfum, and currently 100 ml for $93. I actually really love this DNA. It is a bit old school. They launched the Eau de Toilette in the 60s. This version, I guess the original got reformulated in the early 2000s, like 2003, I think. And then they launched an Eau de Parfum at that time. My dad wore this, and then I guess I wasn't the biggest fan of it because just like I didn't like Iris, I hated vanilla in fragrances for the longest time. Go figure. Yeah, I was a vanilla hater and absolutely love this stuff now. I love it. But for a long time, growing up in the 80s and the 70s and the 90s, the vanilla thing was not a thing for me. But I'm obsessed with it. And this has vanilla. This has woods. It has rose. It has citruses. But one of the best DNAs, I think this is the male answer to Shalimar from Guerlain. And you can kind of smell the Shalimar-like DNA in here. But it's super awesome. Really, really great long-standing men's fragrance that is definitely, as a man, if you haven't tried it, definitely get your nose on it. I think the Parfum nowadays of this is super awesome. And it is boozy. It is vanillic, lots of it, and also patchouli. And so I consider that to be one of the best mass market men's fragrance offerings. But again, that's not going to be under $100. This is, but it's kind of, really close to the $100 mark. But still, I think it's totally worth it for you to check out and, see what it's all about. So that's Guerlain Habit Rouge in the Eau de Parfum version, not the Eau de Toilette. Although the Eau de Toilette is also good. The Eau de Toilette can be a bit fresher, and I think the lemon in that fragrance has been amplified more. But the EDP is a bit deeper, if that makes sense. Next, going to the house of Guy Laroche. This is Drakkar Intense, and now we've got 100 ml for $17. Really inexpensive. So this does remind me of the original Drakkar or Drakkar Noir DNA, which, again, I'll say it again. Drakkar Noir is a flanker of Drakkar, but nobody remembers Drakkar. Everybody remembers Drakkar Noir. Is this a flanker of Drakkar Noir? No, but it reminds me of Drakkar Noir because it smells like it. To me, it's a amped up version of Drakkar Noir. If you were in the market to get Drakkar Noir, but you thought it was on the weak side, I would recommend you get this one. 100 ml, $17 is really inexpensive. This is like that fragrance, plus it's a bit intensified. And also, it's been made a bit boozy. But still, it's got the old school vibe. It's very manly. It's butch. But super awesome. I wore so much of Drakkar Noir in the 80s. 4 bottles. I remember wearing it. The last bottle, I remember, I don't know what the deal was. At that time, in the late 80s, I realized my bottle didn't smell right. And my nose doesn't lie. So something about my last bottle was off. So I don't know if it was a fake. I don't know if it was reformulated. But wearing 3 bottles and then the 4th one was reminding me, it was making me think because there was a difference with the smell. So, and that's kind of when I gave up on Drakkar Noir. I gave up on it and, you know, switched to other fragrances. But I wore like almost 4 entire bottles. For sure, the 3 in that last bottle was like, what's happened to my Drakkar Noir? It smells different. So I don't know if it got a reformulation or my bottle was a fake because it was gifted to me by a relative and it just didn't smell like the original. But going back to the DNA, this is really great. The new blue, Drakkar Blue, I don't care for it whatsoever. But this stuff, to me, is an amped up take on the original Drakkar DNA. And definitely worth having in your collection. So that is Drakkar Intense from the house of Guy Laroche. And $17 for 100 ml. Okay, next we've got another fairly expensive designer fragrance. Launched recently within the last couple of years. This is H24 from Hermes, Herbes Vives. So I love this because it's my favorite flanker in the series. They started with the Eau de Toilette. They launched an Eau de Parfum. Then they launched the Herbes Vives in the Eau de Parfum concentration. So it's pear. You've got pear here. And you've got a lot of aromatics and green notes in here. But still you have that ice cold effect because I believe they have pear granita in this as a note. So it's fruity and also ice cold frozen kind of an effect. And Hermes does quite a few of those. They also have the Eau Givre in the Terre de Hermes collection, which is also kind of ice cold. But I like this one. It's a bit kind of fun and playful because of the fruitiness. But, you know, you've got the aromatics. You've got kind of mineral-y touches in here. But really fun to wear and perfect in the heat, actually. That ice cold effect does a really great job of kind of, you know, giving you this kind of a cooling effect, at the same time giving you this kind of a fruitiness, more of a fun and playful kind of a side to a fragrance. Maybe some people might not consider this to be a serious fragrance, but I don't think fragrances have to be super serious all the time. And also myself, I'm not the biggest fan of like super fruity fragrances, but I've grown to enjoy them more and more. Here, it's a nice touch. It's pears, and pears are not the fruitiest, you know, fruits to begin with, but it really is nicely meshed with the minty kind of aromatics that are in here. So that's Herbes Vives H24 from Hermes, created by Christine Nagel. So I think I got the wrong bottle. Anyway, I'm going to have to pause. Yes, my bottle was wrong. I actually had somehow put my Boss bottled Triumph Elixir into the regular Elixir bottle, so I had pulled out the wrong. So now I have the correct Boss bottled Elixir. Now I looked up the Absolute and I couldn't find it discounted, but the Elixir is available. It is on the pricey side, 100 ml for $85. But also, to me, it's a designer, but it's got a bit of a Middle Eastern vibe from a designer. It's also quite long-lasting, super spicy, a bit oudy, but there's no oud here. And I'm talking about oudy kind of Western oud, not your traditional Middle Eastern style of animalic oud. But there is definitely an oudy vibe here. I think it's a great fragrance. I prefer the Absolute a bit more because of that patchouli, which I'm obsessed with. But this is really, really great as well. There's warm, spicy touches. There's also patchouli here, but for me, the Absolute has a more amplified patchouli. This is kind of smoky, spicy, created by Anique Minardo, which started the whole series off in the late 90s. And I think she was gone for a while. I don't know if she's been creating all of the flankers that came after the initial Boss bottled, but they did a great job. This is Anique Minardo and also Suzy Lahele. They did such a great job on this and the Absolute. Really, really love it. You can also try the Triumph Elixir as well. But you know what? The new one is not that good. I think I'm just really, really underwhelmed with that one. What do you guys think? Okay, I pulled it out. Let's go over it one more time. I did a video on it, and I was so underwhelmed with this fragrance. sadly. This is Boss Bottled Beyond. So it's no longer Annick Minardo and Suzy Laheli. It's a team of Firmenich perfumers. And I can't keep faulting the perfumers, because in the end it boils down to, you know, the conglomerate behind it, which is Coty, and of course the people behind the brand, Hugo Boss. I wouldn't say it's a bad fragrance. It's just kind of boring and blah. Anyway, what do you guys think? Boss Bottled in the Beyond collection, or I should say Boss Bottled Beyond. They've redone everything too, as you can see. Got that little design, the logo, and then the logo is on top too. I think it's not exciting, but wearable. All right, let's move on to the next fragrance. We've got Issey Miyake's L'Odyssée Pour Homme, which still smells great today, even though, you know, it has gotten butchered. It has gotten lighter. But to me, it's zesty, zingy, grapefruity, watery. This is the fragrance that Jacques Cavalier did in the mid-90s. And he brought on his experience with this kind of a watery experience to the fragrances of Louis Vuitton. Because if you go back to my videos for Louis Vuitton, the initial launches were like 7 or 9 women's fragrances. I think there were 7. All of them had a very cohesive, watery kind of DNA. And I think he basically carried that experience to those fragrances, and you can still see it in the men's fragrances as well. But to me, I remember the first time I wore L'Odyssée Pour Homme by Issey Miyake, and I was like, it had that kind of like, I mean, it was like the zestiness was so intense, and I like zesty citruses. I consume them, I like them, and so I was kind of like visualizing the experience of zesty citruses in my mouth, but at that time wearing the fragrance. So, but you get it. It's like kind of a realistic smell. And even though, as I said, they've kind of like lightened this fragrance, you get the reminders. It takes me back. Really does. Mid-90s, late 90s were some of the best fragrances for men. They were different than the fragrances of the 80s. You can totally tell the difference. And the fragrance has evolved for sure from, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s to 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and now. What do you guys think? Are you a fan of L'Odyssée Pour Homme? Let me know. Add a comment below. That one you can get for $45 for 100 ml. So it's quite inexpensive, I think. All right, where are we? I'm kind of all over the place here. Nope, here it is. Okay, we're going for a very old school fragrance, Jacques Bogart One Man Show Ruby Edition. And this fragrance is $16 for 100 ml. Super, super old school though. Super, super old school. Are you a fan of this? So this is very warm, spicy. It's honeyed and also aromatic. And it's got the DNA of One Man Show, which to me, it might bother. I mean, from knowing how people comment, I think this might bother people. There is a kind of a Kouros-like DNA here, for sure. But if you like fragrances like that, it's for sure something you got to try. Even though they've tried to modernize that DNA of the original One Man Show from Jacques Bogart, it's still totally the DNA. Like, it's there. But, you know, there's some slight modern touches. Warmth, spiciness, it's sweet, it's fruity, it's aromatic. I know I was adding something a bit daring on the list, but it's so inexpensive, definitely worth checking out. The Oud edition was also good, but oh my god, the Oud edition is so animalic compared to this. This one's a bit easier to appreciate. And I think the sweetness of the honey and the fruitiness of the apple or something fruity in there makes it a bit more easy to appreciate rather than be like, oh my God, that is so old school, I can't stand it kind of a thing. All right, next going to the house of JIL Sander. It's Sun Men. And this is a 200 ml bottle, and I believe they had the 200 ml bottle for $64. What I like about this one, it's a solar fragrance for men. It's called Sun Men. Oops, that's the wrong kind of strip. So to me, it's got this kind of warm glow with slight ambery touches and woods. And there's kind of a creamy layer about it. And giving me that whole solar idea. It's called Sun Men. So solar, sun kind of a thing. But it's kind of simplistic. It's cozy. It's creamy. It's smooth. There's maybe like light traces of citruses in there. But for me, it's just a very easy to wear fragrance. I feel like it's not necessarily super adventurous. It's not necessarily daring. If you want something that's simplistic, but makes you feel good, makes you feel relaxed and cozy, and also giving you that kind of burst of sunshine, I think you can try this one. I recently bought the Parfum, super disappointed by it. I think the original is really, really great. I got to go back to the Parfum and experience it a little bit more. But from what I remember, I featured it in a haul video. I felt something was sharp and didn't really sit with me very well. But here, I mean, the fact that this is so super smooth and the fact that the Parfum was so super sharp, it was giving me like uncomfortable feeling. But this stuff is good. It's simplistic, easy to wear, definitely cozy and creamy and solar. So it's Sun Men from the house of JIL Sander. Let me know if you're familiar with that. That is $64 for 200 ml. Then we've got Youp. And Youp's Homme Absolute. Absolute, not absolute, absolute. I featured this in a haul video of a lot of different Youp fragrances. And this has turned out to be my favorite in a bunch of those, a bunch of those fragrances. What I like about this one, it gives me a little bit of a This Is Him by Zadig and Voltaire vibe. It's super spicy and peppery, but there's warm spices there. And of course, woods in there as well. But really gives me like a feeling of Spice Bomb by Victor and Rolf meshed with This Is Him by Zadig and Voltaire, and with a few other fragrances similar to that. So this sells for $44 for 120 ml. This is two German brands. Is it German? Is JIL Sander German? Yeah, this is 120 ml. It says on the bottom here. I mean, it's not the most groundbreaking fragrance, but for the price, it's easy to wear. If you're looking for something spicy, woody, peppery, maybe a slight bit smoky as well, try that. It's a Youp Homme Absolute, 120 ml for $44. And this was a surprise. I spoke about this towards, like, during the pandemic, somewhere around there. I read that this was coming out, and then all of a sudden they were at the discounters. Like, I think what had happened was probably it was supposed to come out during the pandemic at the beginning, and since the pandemic caused major problems, this didn't get the full release. And then they appeared at a discounter, and I bought several of them. This is Lagerfeld's Classic Gray. So the original Classic I bought also recently. Man, the reformulation on that is super awful. Super, super awful. But this stuff, really, really great. It's kind of it's got hazelnuts once again. And there's a spicy kind of aromatic bay leaf note in here. And also woods. I was wearing it as I was putting the notes down for this video. And I smelled really great. And this is selling for 100 ml, $29. It's really, really good. I mean, some people don't spend a lot of money on fragrances, but they want to find out what's good, you know, what's Smells great. It doesn't smell like some fragrances have that DNA that runs across a lot of different brands. Like Invictus, one of my least favorite fragrances, the original. Man, that DNA I smell in a lot of other fragrances I cannot stand. This doesn't have that smell. The bay leaf is unique. It's spicy. It's a bit green. It's aromatic. The nuttiness and the woods and, you know, all the things that go into create this fragrance smells pretty original. But I get the gray. There's a bit of a gray smell to it. Subconsciously, of course. Let me know if you've sampled this. This is Lagerfeld's Classic Gray, Karl Lagerfeld. Really lovely. And then we've got this fragrance from the house of Lalique, Encre Indigo. Remember I said I'm only featuring one fragrance from one brand. So Lalique has, like Bentley. In fact, Lalique and Bentley are connected. If you've ever looked at the bottom of a Bentley fragrance, well, this one doesn't. Some Bentley fragrances do also say Lalique on the bottom. This one doesn't, unfortunately. But somehow the distribution is similar. So Lalique and Bentley fragrances are done by similar distributors. But this one just says Lalique. This is the latest Lalique men's fragrance. It's a new series called Encre Indigo. Remember, we had Encre Noir. This is also created by Annick Menardo, and she did a great job. It's basically continuing the series and taking it into more of a spicy vetiver tea kind of direction. So really pick up the vetiver in here. It's grassy, it's dry and woody. And the coziness of the tea is in here, but there's the smokiness for sure. It's almost like vetiver can come off smoky, tea can come off smoky. I wouldn't say this is super smoky because there is that whole aromatic spiciness and the coziness and the greenness of the tea in here against the woods, the grassy woods of the vetiver. But it's a nice change of pace from the, you know, Encre Noir series of fragrances where they strictly focus on, you know, spices and woods of the vetiver. Here, you've got the addition of the tea, which to me, I like that. It's a nice change of pace. And Annick Menardo did a great job. So this is currently selling for 100 ml, $40. Totally worth it. For a while, it was, you know, priced at around $150. But now it's at the discounters, and definitely check it out if you haven't already. So next we've got a fragrance from a brand I'm not too familiar with, but it's a solid offering from the brand. This is Maserati by La Martina. So this one actually focuses on cypress. So cypress is a kind of a green aromatic woody note, which it works really nicely with citruses. So you can smell that kind of like almost like herbs, but it's not quite herbs. There's a certain, you know, unique smell about the cypress. It's a big green. I mean, if you've ever hung around cypress trees, smell them, you know, smell them, experience them, and you'll start learning how fragrances smell, and you can pick it up. You can pick it up here, but it's nicely blended with like a lot of freshness. So in the end, it's not an herb, but it is coming off kind of aromatic and spicy and green from the way the tree, the leaves or whatever they're called, smell. And here, it's a very fresh, woody green experience, an aromatic experience. I like it. It's 100 ml for $62, but it's very fresh, very aromatic, and a bit green as well. But definitely worth checking out. If you like the idea of cypress and freshness and woods and aromatics, definitely check out Maserati from La Martina. I don't know anything about the brand itself, but I had discovered this and I really, really enjoy wearing it. I have 2 bottles of that one. Next, we've got a fragrance from the house of Lanvin. It's Oxygène Homme. I should say Oxygène Homme. And speaking of cypress, we've got another fragrance made with cypresses. Or cypress note, I should say. This is also an Alberto Moria's fragrance. This is the men's, obviously. It's Homme. And then there's a woman's. The woman's is kind of a woody, creamy, and I believe it has gardenia as a note in there. So, but here it's super spicy and green and aromatic and herbal. Do these two fragrances smell alike? I don't think so, but they're giving me the same vibes, you know? But this one is so super cheap compared to this. The Maserati is $62 for 100 ml. The Lanvin Oxygène Homme is $19 for 100 ml. So you guys determine which one is going to be the better deal for you. I think the Lanvin is a eau de toilette versus the La Martina is an eau de parfum. But both of them smell great. And again, like I said, giving me a similar idea as far as the smell goes. It's a lot of freshness against that kind of aromatic, spicy greenness, woodiness of the cypress note. Anyway, that's Lanvin Oxygène Homme, 100 ml, 19. This next. Ooh. Oh, okay. This next one. This is Liz Claiborne's Forest Woods. So, unfortunately, I found this at I think it was either TJ Maxx or Marshall's. I bought it because I liked the way it smelled because the box was open. And Curve is a series of fragrances created by Liz Claiborne. But the box and the bottle does not say Liz Claiborne. It just says Curve. So this is kind of a piney green woody fragrance. It's super, super cheap. So it's $17 for 125 ml. That's the only size I found. This is obviously not a 125 ml. This is more like a 30 ml bottle. But it's piney, it's green, and it's woody and aromatic. And I get spices in this as well. It might come off a bit simplistic, but for me, it doesn't smell generic like some mass market designer fragrances for men do smell like these days. Like, I'm always referring back to Invictus. I cannot stand that DNA. And ever since I smelled that fragrance, I smell that similar kind of a DNA in a lot of men's fragrances. And I want originality. And this smells more original than that Invictus DNA that I find in a lot of other fragrances. But it's super cheap, so maybe you don't like, I don't know, maybe some people judge fragrances and say, oh, that fragrance is too cheap. I can't be wearing that fragrance. I don't have a problem wearing a cheap fragrance and an expensive fragrances. If I like the smell, I will wear it. And this one, again, it's super, super cheap, but definitely pretty solid as a smell. So next we're going to the house of Lolita Lempicka. It's Lolita Lempicka Homme. So this used to come in a different bottle before. They changed the bottle. It was a bit more roundish bottle, kind of similar to the feminine bottles, but they redid it. They just put it in this. I think it used to be called En Masculin Homme. They dropped the En Masculin and they just went Homme. This is a soft, spicy fragrance utilizing, I believe, licorice and anise as a note. Favorite notes of mine. And really, you can smell it here. If you've ever had anise in any kind of cuisine, whether it's to drink it as a tea, in foods and things like that, you will recognize that smell in here. It's one of my favorite things. I grew up with drinking anise tea, and this reminds me of that. I mean, in Europe, I believe in Italy, anise is used in some like sweet treats, but I don't know what else they would use it in. But in the Middle East, anise is used quite a bit. It's also like, I think it's used in liqueurs and things like that. And if you've ever drank ouzo or raki or pastis and things like that, you will totally be reminded of the smell. I like that. It's just a soft, spicy, woody fragrance. Warm, for sure. And that is Lempicka Homme from the house of Lolita Lempicka. All right, next, going to the house of Mandarina Duck. This is Mandarina Duck Black. So they used to have Mandarina Duck Black Extreme, which was so good. That got discontinued. The original is good. This does remind me a little bit of Chanel Allure Homme. It also reminds me a little bit of Uden, but I think the Extreme was better, but still, this one is also pretty solid. Once again, another Nathalie Lorson creation. But yeah, if you're familiar with the DNA of Chanel Allure Homme, or if you're familiar with, Xerjoff Uden, you're going to be reminded of the DNA. It's just an eau de toilette rather than something super strong. This collection used to be sold at Barney's when they had Barney's here. So I used to see that collection there. That's when I first discovered that collection. And I had to get black. I loved it. And then the Black Extreme came on and really loved it. I was hyping the Black Extreme quite a bit. But the Black Extreme didn't last too long, unfortunately. I don't know why. But you can still get the, the smell, the DNA of the Black Extreme in here, because obviously this is the original. So this is 100 ml for $24. Really inexpensive. Allure Homme is probably like $150 now. $24 for that. Anyway, let's move on to the fragrance. The first fragrance that I think you're going to have a challenging time finding. If you do, take advantage of it, because it's it's Mauboussin Star for Men, 90 ml for $22. I have a YouTube short on this one. I was recommending it quite a bit, and it's sold out. Like, I've recommended it many times, and it's sold out. Hopefully they'll bring it back, and if they do, they usually bring it back for about the same price. What I like about this one, it's Layton vibes. Complete Layton vibes for sure. It's really good. It's smoky, it's spicy, it's woody, it's vanillic. Definitely very solid. I love the smell. Is it like 100% identical to Layton? No. Does it remind you of it? For sure. So hopefully it'll be back. If you have a bottle, enjoy it. It's perfect for autumn. Mauboussin Star for Men. The ladies version is also not super feminine. It's almost like the men's version and the ladies version are kind of offsprings of one another. But I think both of them are unisex, whereas the ladies is unisex leaning feminine and the men's is unisex leaning masculine. All right, next we're going to the house of Mercedes-Benz. It's Club Black. Yeah, this one's on the list for sure. Definitely a great cheapie for men, but totally unisex, I think. And also, the Mauboussin Star for Men is also unisex, as I was saying. But here, we've got a super delicious, kind of a dry vanilla fragrance. Spicy, woody. So good. Boozy. So good. I think it's a bit misleading, the fact that it's targeted to men, but it's so unisex. What do you guys think? But as a smell, it's awesome. I think this is Olivier Cresp, if I'm not mistaken. I actually just recently spoke to him quite a bit at TFWA. I was in Cannes, and apparently his family and he is from Cannes. So chatted with him and some of his associates there. But it's a great fragrance. Really love it. I really love that fragrance. Let me know if you're a fan. So this is Mercedes-Benz Club Black. So that is $51 for 100 ml. So this next one is also a bit pricey, but it's also really awesome. This is Montblanc's Patchouli Ink. So this, to me, it's patchouli, like some, chocolate cakey patchoulis out there. But this patchouli also has this like smoked woods shavings smell in addition to the like the earthy chocolatiness of the patchouli. I find patchouli to be a sexy note. I'm going back to that conversation about sexy. Somebody asked me and said, how do you know a fragrance is sexy? Well, you will know it when you smell it. I can't tell you a fragrance is sexy. I've done videos on fragrances I consider sexy, and you might watch it and, try on the fragrances. And at that time, you might think they are sexy or not, because this is very subjective. I find this to be super sexy. Really, really wonderful. Fabrice Pellegrin created it. And again, it's patchouli, like a chocolate cakey patchouli, but a lot of dry, smoky, shaved woods against it. So there's a darkness about it. Obviously, it's called patchouli ink, and I'm getting that kind of inky, kind of muted kind of mixture of smoked woods and shavings, wood shavings against the earthiness of the patchouli. I think it's great. I'm going to have to do a video on this whole collection once I'm back from Shanghai. I'm heading to Shanghai very, very soon for Notes Shanghai. So those of you that are in China, in Shanghai, and are attending Notes Shanghai, say hi. I'll be there. I'll be there all 4 days. All right, so Montblanc's Patchouli Ink, 100 ml, $88. I mean, I bought those fragrances from Selfridges. They were around $150, so almost half the price now for those, which is great. The only one I don't have is the new Oud that they come out with, but maybe I'll get that and do a video on the entire. But the Patchouli Ink is super sexy, as I said. Moving on to the house of Moschino, it's Toy Boy. So there is a new Toy Boy 2, is it called Toy Boy 2? It's coming out. Toy Boy is pear once again. And there's also, there's rose here. There's molecular notes and ambery notes and musky notes in here as well. It's a fun and playful fragrance, I think. Not super serious. I think the fruitiness of the pear, and even though I was saying earlier, pear I don't think is super fruity. Here, I think mixed with the rose, it gives me a fruitier vibe. But I think it's a fun fragrance. It's fresher, not necessarily super deep. And I guess the fact that, we've got this kind of a teddy bear-like thing happening here. There's ambery touches, obviously, in the dry down as well. So that is Moschino Toy Boy. I'm looking forward to checking out the new Toy 2. I think it's called Toy Boy 2, I think. But if you've gotten your nose on Toy Boy 2, let me know. Add a comment below. Then we're moving on to the house of Narciso Rodriguez. It's For Him Vetiver Musk. I think there's an ice-cold quality about this fragrance. I think the previous collection, I think, was called Blue Noir. Was that the name? So this must be a new series of fragrances that they've launched. It's an eau de toilette fragrance. It's got that kind of vetiver grassiness, but where was I getting the vetiver earlier? It's not as deep. The vetiver in this is not as deep. It's like thinner, grassy effect rather than like a deeper, thicker. So it's acting very fresh. It's also kind of ice cold. And of course, it's super musky when it's drying down. So it's a fresh fragrance, utilizing the vetiver and the musk as featured notes. Might be a bit boring, but it could be one of those kind of more like everyday wear, signature scent, easy to wear, not super complex and uncomfortable to wear, if that makes sense. So that is Narciso Rodriguez For Him Vetiver Musk. Anyway, next we've got another really inexpensive fragrance that I've been a fan of for about 15 years. It's Nautica Voyage. A fragrance created by Maurice Roussel, I believe. Now, this is an aquatic fragrance. And aquatic and marine are totally different for me. This is not marine. It's more juicy, watery. Plus, it's fruity and aromatic. There's green apple here. And there's an ice cold effect with this one for sure. There's a crispness about it. Sharpness about it. It's also like under $20 for 100 ml. This is, to me, one of the most... what's the word? Crowd-pleasing and easy to wear kind of fragrance. It smells great. It smells great on skin. It wears not super thin, but not heavy at all. I think you're going to need to spray quite a bit of sprays with this one because it does come off light, but I don't think it's like light, like 4711, that kind of lightness, but not super heavy as well. But I like the fruitiness in there, the crispness, the juiciness. It's clean, it's fruity, it's fun, and also easy to wear. And I think if you're looking for something cheap to wear day in and day out, you can wear fragrance at the office, but you don't want to wear something loud. I think that's the kind of fragrance you can totally pull off with. So that is Nautica Voyage, 100 ml, $16. Now, this is the second and last fragrance that I featured here that I currently saw no stock of. This is also another fragrance I've recommended quite a bit for the fact that it's inexpensive, but sold out currently at a lot of places, but I'm hoping it'll be back. So this is Nikos Parfums Sculpture Parfum. A flanker to a fragrance that came out in the mid-90s, and this is the Parfum edition of it. This is a fresh amber. If you like amber, but you want to wear amber fresher, this is the kind of fragrance you would try with. And there's a lot of floral, like citrus floral notes here as well. And to me, it's ambery, it's fresh, it's a bit woody, and also floral. You can totally pick out the kind of the idea of the orange blossom. It's pretty prominent. Originally created by Michel Almerac, this Parfum edition was created by Aliénor Massenet. But they're taking the original DNA, which is lighter, fresher, eau de toilette, and intensifying it here with the Parfum edition. And usually 100 ml for 30 bucks. All out of stock currently, but again, just like the MAUBOUSSIN Star for Men, hopefully it'll be back just in time and you guys can buy it because I recommend it. And it reminds me of the original, but for sure in a more intense way. If you are looking for the original, definitely you can pick up the original. I think it's around the same price, maybe slightly lesser, but for me the Parfum is awesome. Next, going to the house of Oscar de la Renta, it's Pour Louis, another classic men's fragrance that still smells great today. This is 90 ml for $18. And this bottle is so super awesome, guys. I love this bottle. Who's a fan of this one? This is old school. It's leathery. I love that. Sometimes I buy fragrances that are classics that's been around for decades and you pick it up, you're like, what the heck have they done to the reformulation? And sometimes you buy it, sure, you experience that it's thinner, but the smell is intact, the smell is there. I'm not saying this is 100% smelling like the way the fragrance smelled when it first launched. It either launched in the late 70s or the early 80s. But, oh man, it smells so good. Really, really takes me back. I love it. Really, really awesome fragrance. So that is, what I get from it is leather, spiciness, woods. Definitely really awesome. Let me know if you're a fan. So this next fragrance might be a bit challenging for you guys to get. I bought it earlier this year from the German drugstore, supermarket. they sell lots of fragrances. It's Mueller. I bought it at Mueller. This is Otto Kern Signature Extreme. I love the way this smells. The smell of this does remind me a bit of how fragrances smelled in the 2000s. Like, I'm not sure exactly what fragrance. Maybe Le Male comes to mind a little bit with this, because it's quite aromatic, but there's also something tobacco-ish in here. This is really, really great. I bought this 30 ml for just under 11 euros at the Mueller drugstore. And to me, it takes me back to the 2000s when there's a certain kind of a vibe. This does smell a bit like late 90s and early 2000s to me. It's aromatics, it's woods, it's spices, and slight bit amber under there as well. But, you know, masculine, but not super like the masculine aromatic fragrances from the 80s. There's definitely more modernity there. I bought the regular and the extreme. I actually really love the extreme, but it's a German brand. Those of you that are in Germany can get it easily. I do see it selling at eBay, but I don't see them selling at a lot of places. I was thinking twice about featuring this here. I ended up putting it in here because it's so good and the price is so inexpensive. Next time I go anywhere near Germany, I'm going to pick up a larger bottle of this, because I didn't really know when I was smelling fragrances there when I was there quickly. I smelled it, I liked it, but when I got it and wore it, I was like, this is really good for the price. Because 30 ml, 11 euros, so good. And then we got a classic here that I rediscovered recently. I wore it originally in the early 90s, but the fragrance had launched in the late 70s. This is Paul Sebastian PS Fine Cologne. And currently 120 ml for 20 bucks. So worth it. First off, it's a very aromatic fragrance, like lots of lavender here, but also super musky and powdery, and compliments as well. I love getting compliments if I wear my fragrance loud, people can smell it, and I don't wear fragrances to get compliments, but I do love getting them because it starts a conversation, especially in the elevator, and the compliments I got here were in an elevator and also at a restaurant. But even though it's gotten thinner, because I remember wearing this in the early 90s, I wear it around 93, 92, and I kept my bottle in the car, but where I was living at that time was super hot. I remember wearing this starting in the late winter, early spring. And it's, again, super musky, but it just smells really, really original. There's nothing like this out there on the market today. And people still wear this, like, they love it. And even though the reformulation is, you can tell it's been reformulated and watered down. But once you put it on, it takes you back to, you know, remembering when you first wore it. So it's a really, really awesome scent. I absolutely love it. And again, it's super musky and very aromatic, and there's ambers and woods in here as well. And for the concentration, I think it's got great lingering power. And the fact that it's garnered me compliments, I do overspray, by the way. I don't just spray one spray. And this is a cologne concentration, by the way. It's not eau de toilette. It's not eau de parfum. It's cologne. It says cologne on the bottom. So, but I overspray. And I think that's the reason why I got compliments. If you're having problems getting compliments, maybe people are not smelling your fragrance. I overspray. And it smells great. Really, really lovely. So that's Paul Sebastian PS Fine Cologne, 120 ml for 20. I was looking for a lot of Prada fragrances to add in here. A lot of them were over $100, so couldn't do it. But this fragrance, I found 100 ml tester for 70 bucks. This is Amber Pour Homme. For one of the soapiest fragrances for men, you know, targeted to men. Who's a fan of this? It's Prada. I mean, it smells like a Prada fragrance. Because Prada does a lot of powdery. And this is powdery and soapy and also ambery. But it's super clean. It's like clean powder. Soapy powder. I like it. There's something cozy about it. Because powder, you know, has that coziness. Remember when maybe you were a baby and your mom used baby powder on you? So always, you know, takes me back to the smell of baby powder when something is powdery. And this does have a little bit of that baby powder vibe. Sometimes, you know, there's iris fragrances. They don't remind me of the smell of baby powder, but the idea here, slight bit baby powdery as well. But it's really great. And it's 100 ml for $70. And I do have to specify that it's a tester that I found for that price. And as I was saying, if you find a regular bottle, full presentation, might be like $10 to $15 more. So that's Prada Amber Pour Homme. Next, we've got, it's Près de Provence number 63. So I've recommended this quite a bit. I think I actually have a full video of this one as well. And it's 100 ml for $40. And it's kind of a fragrance that's in this ballpark of something like Victor and Rolf Spice Bomb. Obviously, I don't have Victor and Rolf here because the fragrances are over $100, so can't feature it here. But if you're looking for something as an alternative, less expensive, you can try this one. So it's spicy, peppery, and warm, and fresh at the same time. Maybe there might be some tobacco-ish touches in here. And when I say fresh and warm at the same time, you might start off fresh and it gets warm and, you know, more deeper and a bit more substantial when it's drying down. So it's that kind of a fragrance. So it's got spices, it's got warmth, it's got, you know, tobacco-ish touches and things like that. And I think it's a pretty decent fragrance. It's an eau de toilette, a pretty unknown brand. I think I discovered this from Amazon, and apparently it's I don't know much about the brand itself. They have all kinds of other products. It's a French brand, Près de Provence. Provence meaning referring to the south of France, where a lot of lavendery kind of notes are not notes, ingredients come from. And perhaps that has some lavender in it as well. All right, so that's Près de Provence number 63, 100 ml for $40. And of course, I got to feature this one in here. This is Ralph Lauren's Polo Oud. Really lovely fragrance. Definitely worth having if you're looking for a designer oud. Maybe slight bit reminiscent of the original Polo Green. It's 125 ml for $66. There's that 125 ml idea again. So you're getting 25 ml more juice for about the same price. So definitely worth it. What I like about this one, it's super pungent. It has a very Western oud smell. It's a bit dark and smoky, maybe a bit Cypriol-like as well. And it's a lot of warm spices as well. There's cinnamon in here, which I like. You can really almost three-dimensionally smell the cinnamon in here. It's really, really warm and spicy. And, you know, you've got some rose in here as well, so slight floral touches. But I wouldn't say this is a floral fragrance. It's there to contrast. And maybe way in the back, it gives you the idea of the original, the OG Polo Green. But this doesn't smell like it. This smells, I think, to me, better than the current formulation of Polo Green. Totally worth having. It's so good. This Polo Oud is awesome. If you haven't tried it, please do. Highly recommend it. And then we've got Rochas Moustache in the EDP, guys. And I'm really low on my bottle here. So if you accidentally buy the EDT and EDP smell night and day difference. If you're looking for moustache, make sure you buy EDP, not EDT. EDT is the original fragrance that was launched many decades ago. They did a more modern version of moustache in eau de parfum, and it smells nothing like the EDT. EDT old school lemony. This warm and ambery. Am I going to be able to spray this? Yeah. This does remind of Tuxedo from YSL, if you're a fan of that. You'll be reminded of Tuxedo here. It's woody, spicy, patchouli, and a bit ozonic as well. I find this Tuxedo DNA really super sexy. And it's an original smell. YSL came out with it first. But here, it totally reminds me of it, but in a more men's designer way. The Tuxedo from YSL is unisex. This is for sure male targeted, but a woman can totally pull off moustache. EDP, remember EDP. The EDT might also be a bit more masculine leaning. It's a citrus sheeper style fragrance created by Edmond Rudnitska. Is it Rudnitska? I think that's who it is. This EDP is a different perfumer who I'm not remembering the name of, but definitely worth having. It's Moustache EDP from the house of Rocha. Then we've got this fragrance that I'm going to recommend. It's a limited edition version of Trussardi's Uomo, and it's the Levriero collection, 100 ml for $55, and the name is right down there. So, Levriero. So, this isn't the original, and I don't know. There was also a cap that's golden, and I've not smelled the golden cap one, only this one. So, I think there's a great potency about this fragrance. It's spicy and woody, but it starts off like there's this freshness and juiciness up top, super like fresh and juicy. And then it develops and becomes more intense and spicy, and of course woody when it's drying down. It's got this interesting like it's giving me like some scent memories, and I'm not for sure where I'm getting that. It also reminds me a little bit of like ozonic, like something juicy, crisp, ozonic smelling. Maybe a bit green, but for sure it's got this like super fresh, almost lemony start. And then eventually it's getting spicier and deeper and more intense as it's drying down. Anyway, that is Trussardi Uomo Levriero collection, 100 ml for $55. And then we've got Continuum from TUMI, one of the best designer fragrances on the market, I think. I absolutely love this fragrance. It's an eau de parfum concentration. It's warm and spicy. It's tobacco-ish. It's boozy. And of course, I always mention I get like a fizzy quality from it. I love it. It smells like amber for sure. There's a lot of ambery touches, and then behind it you're getting this booziness for sure, but there's a fizziness along with it. It gives me like rum and coke vibes, but it's powdery, it's tobacco-ish, it's warm and spicy, and definitely really original for a smell for a designer. Perfect for autumn, I think. Let me know if you're a fan of Continuum. I think this is the best from TUMI. I'm hoping something comes out that's going to really, really stand out. But when they launched TUMI fragrances, the first two were kind of boring and generic. This just really like put them on the map. I think everything that's come after this has not been as good as this, but better than the first two. I kind of think the first two are really, really mass market and boring, but this stuff is the kind of fragrance I like. And for a designer, I haven't smelled any designer fragrances like this. Anyway, TUMI Continuum. It's almost like to be continued. Next, we've got Versace's Eros Energy, and I found 100 ml for $79 as a tester. This smells like lemon lozenges in a good way. Not in a bad way, in a good way. I love this. I like this more than Eros Najim, which was a Dubai exclusive. but I think it's now selling. I mean, at least I saw it everywhere in Europe. I saw it there. Is it selling everywhere? Has it come to the States? But for me, Eros Energy is a very energetic burst of juicy citruses. A bit astringent, a bit tart, and really fresh and clean. I love the smell. Really, really do. I'm not the biggest fan of the Eros collection, and I think citruses are also not the deepest fragrances, but for once, it's a great smelling designer fragrance. And again, I'm also not the biggest fan of Versace. I find Versace fragrances to be boring, but they did a really great job of this one. And the bottle is gorgeous too. What do you guys think? Let me know if you're a fan of that. Then we've got Black Steel from Victorinox. I think this is created by Daphne Bouget of Firmenich. She's done fragrances for Le Labo, a lot of them. Bergamot 22. I think she did Rose 31. The new Lavande. What I like about this one is a smoky, minerally, spicy, woody amber fragrance. It's got this kind of warm, ambery, fiery experience, but in a more woody, spicy way. Simplistic and easy to wear. Well, I'm not sure if it's easy to wear. It's definitely like a autumn winter fragrance from a mass market designer brand, but it's not easy to wear. I think it might come off a bit challenging to some people. There's also, I think, pine here. But the way it's created, it doesn't make it easy to wear, but I like the way it smells. It's perfect for autumn, I think. But super spicy, definitely minerally. There's woods and amber, and then also a bit of smoke in here. Let me know what you think of Black Steel. Have you tried it? This sells for $13 for 100 ml. Really inexpensive, so super cheap. 2 more fragrances left, guys. So next we've got Zadig & Voltaire's This Is Him. 100 ml, $58. So the This Is Him collection has a lot of different fragrances, but this is the one that started it all. And once again, we've got Nathalie Lorson, who created this. I actually spoke to her a couple of weeks ago during TFWA. And we were at a party and she was dancing. She's a good dancer. Anyway, so this is, I think it's sandalwood, black pepper, grapefruit, maybe incense as well. So it's super spicy, smoky, woody. Oh, the vanilla. Can't forget the vanilla because that's key here. But it's kind of dry. And I think it's also kind of reminiscent of things like Viktor and Rolf's, Spice Bomb. And what's the other fragrance that I smelled here a little while ago that... I think it's the Pré de Provence. Kind of in that similar ballpark. But also, I would say the Youp Homme Absolute is also kind of in that similar ballpark. Peppery, spicy, woody, vanillic, sweet amber kind of things. This doesn't have any aromatic notes, lavender, but there's a bit of a light lavendery kind of touch in there. A great scent, I think. This Is Him by Zadig & Voltaire. I know there's a ton of flankers out there. You know what, guys? I forgot to mention a fragrance, and I had written it in because I forgot to put it. So I'm going to leave it to the last. It's going to be off order, but who cares? So we've got one more fragrance, and there's another one after it that I forgot to talk about in order. But the last fragrance in the regular list is Zilli's Cashmere Noir. I did a video on this line. I actually did a short on this. I bought the entire collection of Zilli fragrances in these kind of similar bottles. And Cashmere Noir was the standout for me. Truly super sexy, warm and spicy, ambery and smoky. I love it. I love it. It's a really, really awesome scent. and it doesn't smell like a lot of other men's fragrances. In fact, this might remind you of some niche fragrances. Somebody mentioned it reminds them of Un Nuit Nomade's Ambre Khanjar. I think that's what it's called. I can see that. This is definitely done in a designer way, but for me, it's super unique. Also super sexy. And, you know, it's warm and spicy and ambery. And the way it smells on my skin, I absolutely love it. Yeah, so I bought all 4 in the series. And to me, this was the most original. I haven't smelled a fragrance like that from a men's designer collection. So that's the last fragrance in the regular list. And I was supposed to put one fragrance in the J section, and I forgot. And I'm going to do it here. I left it off accidentally. It's Jovan's White Musk. It's a cheapie. And it's also 88 ml for $9. Yeah, I've got... Remember, this is a list of fragrances that are under $100. You know, there's some fragrances that are close to the $100 mark, and there's some fragrances that are super cheap. And I forgot to mention the Zili Cashmere Noir. It's 100 ml for $75. And the Zadig & Voltaire, this is him, was 100 ml for $58. But the Jovan White Musk for Men, 88 mls for $9. It's just basically a clean, musky fragrance. And it might have some light fruity touches and, of course, some light ambery touches as well. But it's super musky and clean. I think it's a dumb reach kind of a fragrance. It's for sure musky, but also it has some substance there. I wish I could have thrown in the Body Shop's White Musk for Men. I've loved that fragrance. It's discontinued. I think they changed the name to Blue Musk or something. I haven't kept up with the Body Shop, unfortunately. But we have, you know, this cheapie, Jovan White Musk for Men. So that's the last fragrance. Sadly, it's out of order. I'm going to give you a list of my top 10 right now. So, Bentley for Men Intense at number 1. Cashmere Noir by Zili number 2. Yes, those are really, really great. Let me rearrange because it's so stacked high here. So we've got the top 2. Gucci Guilty Absolute number 3. It's really great. And also, I'll mention later. So this is the Mercedes-Benz Club Black at number 4. Oh boy. And then we've got MAUBOUSSIN Star for Men at number 5. It's a bit messy here. At number 6, we've got Moustache Eau de Parfum. Nico's Parfum Sculpture Parfum at number 7. Habit Rouge Eau de Parfum at number 8. This was not super inexpensive. I'm going to feature it because it is under $100. So Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privé at number 9. And then finally, Caron's à Mémoire Comme Je Suis at number 10. So that's the list for you guys with a ranking. So what are your thoughts on these fragrances? You know, I'm also going to throw in a bonus here. The Patchouli Ink from Montblanc as number 11, or the bonus. It's really, really good. And also, I should throw in the Lalique Encre Indigo, number 12. I think that's it. What do you guys think of the list? What do you guys think of the ranking? Let me know. Add a comment below. Did you like the video? Do you want to see another one? Do you want to see the female or women's fragrances with unisex fragrances options? I'll do that as well. But let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Do you enjoy them? What else should I check out that's inexpensive, that's quality? I do have to say, once again, I think as far as top 2, these 2 are super, super awesome. Highly recommended. I think they're some of the best fragrances out there, and also fairly budget priced. But let me know if I'm missing anything I'd like to check out. I'd like to see what else is out there. But thank you so much for watching today's deep dive video on men's fragrances that are under $100. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Otherwise, guys, please like the video. Please share it. Make sure to give a thumbs up for the video so it helps with the algorithm. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.